Hi guys. Thank you so much again. I can't say thank you enough. Everybody coming here, I really, really appreciate it. So I'm just gonna start like giving you guys a little brief of the brand. So first and foremost, I'm hearing some of y'all pronounce it wrong. Okay, it's Vrede, Vrede 919, and Vrede means peace or tranquility in a language called Afrikaans. And the 919 has like a little symbol behind it. So the 9 is the month that I was born, and that was the month I came up with the idea. And then the 19 is how old I was when I came up with the idea, and I told myself that I was gonna like launch it in 2019. So that's where it came from. And we are a menswear brand. We produce in Los Angeles, and we're bringing out jewelry next year as well. It's handcrafted in Nigeria. Our main sustainability mission is just to basically take care of people in Nigeria and also to revive the goldsmith industry. And we're taking care of people in the sense that our profits, most of it, we're dedicating a percentage to go back to education in Nigeria, helping the less privileged. So that's that. And we're gonna hand it over to our panelists here.
So hey guys, my name is Delz. I'm a UX product designer. What I do is help people who have great tech ideas go from concept to product. Worked with companies like BT and Vogue as well, and just pleased to be here to talk to you guys.
My name's Abz, Abdul. One out of six. I'm a music artist. One out of six of a collective called NSG. Behind the I like to say bangers, Trust Issues, OT Bop, Options, and many more. And just trying to give the vibe to the world and give our music to the world.
Hey guys, my name's Sam. I work in the fashion industry as a trend consultant. I work in denim specifically, so we work with different brands like Levi's, Lee and Wrangler, and help their design teams coming up with like new concepts, talking about culture, new technologies. So yeah, I'll be covering the fashion side of things today. And pass on to Shaq.
Yo, sorry I'm late. Yo, traffic's mad, fam. Yeah, my name's Shaquille-Aaron. I do art, poetry. Also do fashion, much like Sam. I'm part of a fashion show, 1/4 of PAQ. And yeah, I guess like Sam will be touching on some things in fashion too. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So we have our tech guy here first. So I'm gonna start with you. So I noticed that you immerse yourself a lot with like startup brands and everything. So I just wanted to find out if there are any common mistakes that you find that are with like startup brands, and if there are, would you mind sharing some of those?
Yeah, I think like I think a lot of people like rush to build out ideas they have without testing it with customers first.
Right.
Or trying to find out like the actual problem. Like they feel like I have an idea for an app, and it goes straight into like looking for a developer to build it out instead of like more research. I think that's the most common thing I see people making as a mistake. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna have music next.
Yep.
So my first question is just basically like, can you give us a backstory of how NSG started? Were you guys friends before, and like walk us through your creative process?
So NSG, well, there's 6 of us. 5 out of 6, we all went to the same secondary school, and the other one lived in the same area as us. We grew up in Hackney, East London, and it was just a thing where we went to school together, played football together. A lot of our growing up days, like, we were just together, and we all had that one passion for music. One of the guys had a studio in his house, and after football, after school, after all the things you do when you're young, you just go back to music. And it just started as a joke at first, but we started getting into certain places, interviews, and we were like, oh, this is getting serious. And yeah, everything else is history from then. So yeah.
Awesome. So to fashion. So while I was doing research, Sam, I noticed that you worked as a senior editor at WGSN. And I know that you do freelance now. So I just want to know what that transition was. Because for those of you guys that don't know, WGSN is like one of the biggest trend consulting sites to use in fashion. I used it in school, and a few of my past jobs, we use it as like a source. So I just want to know, because it's a huge corporation, how did you go from that to freelancing now?
Yeah, so I've been working as a senior denim editor at WGSN for I think about 6 to 8 years, and it was really good sort of my career, like working for such a big agency. We got to visit so many different brands, travel the world, get to meet lots of designers, so it really kind of like geared me up to be in a position where I could go freelance and start working with brands directly because of building my profile within the industry. But I felt that once I got to a certain level that I was ready to sort of move on and just sort of do it myself. I think a lot of people probably do that throughout their careers. You reach sort of a certain point within sort of corporate companies, you just want to try and break free a little bit. But the transition was quite easy. I guess the main thing is just sort of having a structure in your sort of work and making sure that you're on top of things, because when you're freelance, you've got to bring in business yourself. So you've always kind of have that pressure. But I guess we're quite lucky in what we do. I work with another girl called Amy as part of Denim Dudes. Because we're quite niche in what we do in denim, we have a lot of people sort of reaching out to us. So we're lucky that we sort of have work coming straight to us.
All right, art/fashion.
Yeah, sorry, I said fashion. I was meant to say art, but my brain, yeah, sorry, but yeah.
It's fine. So with your paintings, I just want to know where you draw most of your inspiration from.
So the thing about me painting and stuff like that, or like any of my other art forms, is it's more about what I'm trying to communicate at the time, because I don't feel like I have much of a style. So the one thing I always try to tell people when they are creating something is, you know, the style comes later. You got to figure out what you're trying to say first. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like for example, if you had like a piece of clay, like a giant marble sculpture you want to make, yeah, like, and you've never made a sculpture before, the first thing you're going to try to do is think to yourself, okay, I need to find a style. What am I going to do? And then you're there for ages trying to think of like what to do, and it's kind of like, nah, just go at it, and what's inside of you will come out. So in terms of inspiration, I would say it's whatever I've encountered or what I'm experiencing at the time. But if I was to look at like, you know, I guess actual influences, then you know, it varies. Sometimes it's like, you know, African heritage. Like I really do appreciate like the Maasai tribe. So I love like the history of like Kenya. But I'm from Trinidad, do you know what I mean? But the reason, one thing that drew me to that is obviously the culture and the colors, man. Like my favorite color is red. So red, all the reds, the oranges, the yellows, it's so beautiful. And like, you know, I love their traditions, like when they're in a circle and they're doing like their traditional dances and they're jumping and stuff like that. I think that's beautiful. But then on the other side, it's people like Basquiat. But then it's not Basquiat's actual artwork, it's the idea of a black dude breaking into the commercial art scene, you know what I'm saying? And then what am I trying to communicate between those two things, between the African art and Basquiat? And then whatever I paint, it kind of comes out. Like my most recent piece, it kind of looks like Basquiat's Three Skulls, but then the colorway is of the Maasai tribe. So and I never knew that was going to come out, and it just did, do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'd say that.
Awesome. Okay, so second round of questions. We're going to bring it back to tech. I just want you to talk through your experience as a product designer for Vogue Business, because, I mean, it's a fashion event, and I just feel like a lot of times people don't really associate technology with fashion. So can you just go through that a little bit?
I think working with Vogue, Condé, Nast is pretty much like it gets very intense. It's a lot of, you know, they give you like, you know, a short period of time to get something out as soon as possible because there's a lot of demand. So it's kind of have to bring you the best version of yourself every day, like no matter the pressure, because like, you know, even if you finessed your way into the role, like probably told them I had like 9 years experience when I probably had more of like 4 years experience. But, you know, bring your A game every day and, you know, fit in where you feel like you need to fit in. Yeah.
Okay, so music again. So correct me if I'm wrong on this, right? I feel like most of the NSG members have like an African descent, right? Okay.
All of them.
Awesome. So on that note, I don't know, do you guys see yourselves having any shows in Africa soon?
100%.
100%?
With NSG, I feel like, because, so there's 3 Ghanaians and 3 Nigerians. Like, it's a perfect balance. And it's a thing where so I was born in Nigeria. So was the other Nigerian member. Mm-hmm. The 3 Ghanaians have all experienced time back home.
Okay.
Because with us, I don't know if anyone listens to NSG, a lot of the stuff you could tell is through culture. Like we're very big on our culture.
Yeah.
I was in Nigeria for 8 years before I came here, and it was a thing of trying to adjust to the UK.
Yeah.
But I just felt like I'm Nigerian. Like, like even my tribal marks, when people see it, they're like, oh, what's that?
Yeah.
But I decided to embrace it, and
Right.
embracing it, you could tell through my art and everything we do, and that's with all of us.
Wow.
So it's like 6 African kids in the UK with that background culture, and the UK influence, and mixing everything up, and we just create the vibe that we give the people.
Awesome.
And we try to speak our language in our songs, just because at the end of the day, even if we know what it means, sometimes it's, for me especially, like, music's about vibes and what it gives off to people. And regarding we got shows in Nigeria and Ghana this December. Anyone going, you'll see us in Ghana and Nigeria showing it down. Yeah.
All right, nice. Okay, to fashion. I noticed that you do youth trends as well, right? Okay, so because I know in the crowd we have a lot of youth in here, so I just want to know, like, throughout your research, are there any recurring trends that you see specific to youth?
Yeah, definitely. I think within youth culture, there's always the newness that sort of comes through.
Yeah.
Young people are always looking to like differentiate themselves from like the previous generations. So there's
Right.
always some kind of like newness that's coming through.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess a reoccurring thing is always like the idea of nostalgia. I think looking back to the past and sort of reinventing that's something that always kind of happens. I think, yeah, especially at the moment, like 90s, like 2000s is all kind of coming back. But in the new way that I'm seeing, because 90s has obviously been around for a long time, I think people are digging a lot deeper now for like more kind of niche references. Like on Instagram, and the stuff that I kind of share, a lot of people are going back to like looking at magazines now and scanning them, because there's so much kind of overload of images, looking at things at like Instagram, that people are kind of looking for different kind of imagery now. And if you're looking at like a magazine or an old campaign, like that imagery looks completely new and fresh now. Like I say, another kind of thing is like customization as well. I got to work with the PAQ guys a couple of years ago, and they did a denim competition with Levi's where they got to do customization on sort of festival fits. And festivals is always somewhere where I go to sort of look for new inspiration for trends. And it was really amazing to see what the 4 guys sort of came up with. Shaq was the winner, actually. I picked him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But you can even see, I guess, what he's wearing today with the jeans. He's obviously customized them himself. I think young people, they're always kind of experimenting with new kind of technologies or sort of fabrics, and denim, something that's always from like the 50s through to like the 70s, where like hippies were like reinventing denim in new ways, because there was only certain silhouettes, and then they start making them into flares, and obviously that becomes like a huge kind of culture in itself. But today I'm seeing so many sort of young designers and brands that are kind of experimenting with it, whether it's like printing or deconstructing denim. And like Shaq made a poncho and he used beeswax out of it to make it waterproof.
Wow.
So yeah,
innovation. Okay, nice.
so I think that's where you always kind of see the innovation coming from youth culture. They always drive the trends, and it's nice to see that big corporations now, they're embracing like younger voices as well, rather than sort of just taking their ideas. They're actually bringing some of these young consumers in and having kind of incubator programs, I guess, and allowing them to have a voice as well.
I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome, great. Okay. So with everyone here that's like from a group or, you know, associated with a group, I always want to find out, like with you, PAQ, how did that come about? How did you guys meet each other? What was going on? Tell us about it.
Okay, so like, man. So I've known Dexter, who's one of the guys. I've known him for about 10 years. He's been like one of my best friends.
Awesome.
Elias, I met a few years back, and no one really knows, but you can kind of see it on the show, the way we banter each other. When I first met him, I didn't like him. But the only reason I didn't like him, I was so petty, it's because he used to be a presenter on another fashion platform. And one day at this barbecue, he was interviewing people about their fashion sense. And he interviewed my boy, who I thought style was trash.
Oh my gosh.
And he didn't interview me. So I was like, okay, well, he doesn't recognize something special. I don't like him.
All right.
But then obviously that was me and my ego just talking mad like rubbish. And then obviously after a while, we started hanging out more, became like best friends. And then Danny used to come down from Driftfield all the time. And we used to link up with him because he used to go to like pop-ups and stuff like that. And then we were all just a group of friends, man. And then a company called Cairo reached out. They were like, you know, we want to get some young people in. We want some ideas. We want to kind of create something. So I wasn't too sure what they wanted to do, but then we all came together and we pitched the idea of like fashion. And then we wasn't sure what exactly we was going to do. So it was brainstorming. And then I came up with the idea of the first episode, which was 5 fits for 50 quid. because I was like, at the time I was in uni, and I was like, bruv, like, bare people are asking me how you affording Moschino jeans on a uni budget. And I'm like, bro, just go to like a charity shop, bruv, like, or make it yourself. Do you know what I mean? So we came with the first episode just to be, I don't know, kind of like, I guess, innovative, and just show the young people, like, you know, like, yo, you don't have to be spending mad money to look like you got mad money. But at the same time, no one likes to front us, so don't act like you got mad money.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
That part.
But you can but you can look good. And yeah, since then it's just been a ball, man. So we recorded stuff in 2016. We went live in February 2017, and then like, yeah, basically like 3 years later, here we are. It's crazy.
Wow, awesome. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, we're gonna circle back again. All right, okay. So, based on like, just with fashion in general, right? I've been trying to immerse myself with, you know, the more technological aspect. And one thing I've noticed is 3D technology going into like pattern drafting, or just like also people trying to reduce like production. So like, for instance, maybe like on their site, they would have like a proto that's actually like a 3D sample instead of, you know, just basically trying to reduce like sample production. So I just want to know, like, have you heard anything about that? Or what are your thoughts?
There's like a lot of like 3D technology coming out now, more for like say you had like a bespoke appointment with a brand in Italy and you were in London, and you didn't have to go in there for an appointment. You could create like a 3D version of yourself and get it measured instead. Yeah. So there's like all sorts of technology coming out now. It's like a lot of photogrammetry where you know, you go into a store, like you get yourself measured with like 360 cameras around you, and you know, you can then like have a digital avatar of yourself, try on clothes digitally, and you know, it's a lot of exciting things going on.
That's awesome. That's awesome. The one thing I love about that is that for me, I feel like it's gonna help with customer service in the sense that it's gonna reduce like returns, for instance, because it's like true to your size. It's gonna be more, you know, form fitting.
Yeah, I think like that's the future of fashion. Like future, you know, less returns.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so Abz, I want to know, do you have any advice at all for anybody that's trying to break into the music industry? Or can you share any struggles that you've been through based on your past experiences?
Being able to say no, like sometimes, obviously as young, 6 black guys from the ends, the first time we actually got into like a label situation was in 2016. Wow. And obviously at the time, it was our first kind of conversation, first meetings and labels, and the money they offered, so they offered us like 25K for a song, and they wanted, I think 3 bodies of work. Wow. That's basically like, let's say if you had 10 songs, that's basically like 30 songs, and they were offering us 25 grand. At the time, it wasn't about money for us, but it was about you know, the deal itself and what we were getting into, because at the time we're still learning about the game, learning about the scene. So it was hard to say no to 25 grand because times were tough then. I was still working in Tesco's. So it was like, oh, I needed 25K. But again, my career doesn't make sense. And then like, so 3 years later, we kept at it independently with us, just learning the game, you know, all the L's, just it's enjoying the process really. 3 years later, the same person that offered us 25 grand, when options came out, he wanted it for 375 grand. Oh. And we still said no to it. Not because of the money, but because the deal was still not, it didn't make sense for us. Wow. But anyone that knows about labels and deals is like, a standard record deal is like 80-20, so 80% to the label, 20% to the artist, and there's 6 of us. Oh. If we did the maths already, it doesn't make sense. We said we want to be behind our art, so we said we wanted 50-50, and being able to say no to like 375 grand, like it's something that I never thought I'd be able to do, and doing it just shows that keep learning about the game and forget the numbers. Just learn the game, learn yourself, and people that you're working with, if they're here to stay, you'll see their true intentions when that amount is thrown at them, and everyone's down for the long road because we all wanted to say no to it. So I'd say saying no is probably one of the hardest things in the music business. Oof. Yeah. So
okay. Awesome. Okay, we're back to fashion. You write for Grailed, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So you guys didn't know, he writes for Grailed. Grailed is, do we have any hype beasts here? You guys know Grailed? I'm like, okay, yeah. So it's like one of, you know, the biggest resale platforms. You know, you get a lot of good deals and everything. So I just want to know, what's your experience been, and like, how did you even get to, you know, writing for that platform?
Yeah, so I guess touching on the first question you asked me about moving on doing freelance. So this year, not being part of like a corporate company, it gave me an opportunity to really kind of explore some sort of personal things that I wanted to do. And that one of my things was my Instagram, basically. And I've been pouring a lot of time and effort into that, creating sort of like unique kind of content. I talk a lot about sort of subcultures within it, fashion, and mainly kind of like denim as well. But I noticed a lot of the time on Instagram, a lot of people just sort of sharing images quite freely, and they get a lot of likes, but there's no kind of context behind it. So my idea was really to sort of like tell some of the interesting stories behind the images that I really liked. So it made it a bit more kind of educational, but not kind of ramming it down people's throats, but just sort of telling the story, because there's so many amazing stories out there and they weren't being heard. So I basically started doing that, and one of the guys from Grailed started following me for like a few months, and then after a while he kind of approached me and said, oh, we'd like you to start sharing some of the stories on our platform. So every week I post like a series of 10 images where I sort of talk about products or a theme or subculture or something like that. And it's really good just to be able to talk to a broader audience. Like they've got like 500,000 followers, so being able to sort of speak at that level is like really interesting to do that.
That's awesome.
And obviously it gives exposure to me, and I've got like being able to build my following from that. But no,
awesome.
It's really
I always look forward to those posts. I'm always like, I want to see what he's writing about today.
Yeah, and obviously Grailed as well, it's a resale platform. It's mainly kind of geared towards menswear, and they resell like designer stuff through to like hype products. But obviously that's a really good platform to be associated with everything around sustainability at the moment. The whole idea of reselling, trying to sort of promote that kind of thing is much better.
Awesome. Shaq, it's crazy because the hoodie that you're wearing, I saw that you posted it on your Instagram, and I was like, oh shit, like it's crazy that you're wearing, because I want you to talk about the art piece and just basically how you are combining art and fashion together so well. Like it's working so well for you. Can you just share?
Okay. So in terms of this piece, so I got approached by a client for the first time to actually like do like a big painting, and it was for me, obviously like doing stuff in fashion and doing stuff in art, they're two different careers. So obviously my fashion career is probably a bit more advanced only because of like the stuff that I'm doing with PAQ and all that stuff there, but art is more independent. So this person's now approached me. I mean, I still got paid, but they were like, it was 10K plus they were paying me for this painting. Wow. But they didn't want the painting in the end.
What?
I did something else for them instead. Okay. But I did the painting and it just sat in my studio. Ooh. And the annoying thing about it was they came the day before requesting for a poem. And I was like, okay, cool. Then the next day they was like, actually wanted a painting. And I was like, well, what do you, I was like, well, what do you want? They was like, well, we're going to shoot this thing tomorrow. Do you think you could do it in a day? And my manager was with me. She was like, you can do it. I was like, I can't do this. I was like, you know what I mean? Especially like a giant, it was 5 foot by 4 foot. So it's quite a big painting. So I sat there for ages staring at this painting. Even on the back of the hoodie, I wrote down exactly what happened as well. And I basically ended up painting this in 20 minutes. Don't know how the hell.
Oh my God.
Yeah, literally 20 minutes. I got a roller, did the background, did the head shape, painted it. It was just crazy. And I sat there and I was instantly ready to throw it in the bin. Wow. And I was like, yeah, that's it. I'm throwing it in the bin. I hate it. I FaceTimed my girlfriend. My girlfriend saw it. She was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. I was like, no, it's not. It's terrible. I'm throwing it away. And she was like, no, you should keep it. Just sit on it for a while and just wait. And I said, okay, cool. And the guy came back the next day and said, actually, we want to use the painting. I was like, okay, cool. He took it, never used it in the whole thing that we did, dropped it back to my house, and I just had it for months. And I posted it a couple times, and I was like, you know what, I should do something with this. I've always wanted to make T-shirts and hoodies because I always get arts to make them. So I ended up like teaming up with a group of people called Everpress. I just wanted to try it out, see what would happen. Put it on the hoodie, and I also hand wrote out exactly what I'm telling you now, what happened, and put it on the back. And I think the beautiful thing about it is that painting to me, not only am I seeing the beauty in it now, but it also taught me that, like, you know, if I want to make a 5 foot by 4 foot painting in 20 minutes in one day,
you can do it.
I can do it. You know what I mean? And I guess like the message behind that, to get deeper, is when it comes to stuff like art and when you're making stuff, especially if you want to implement it into fashion, do not rush it. take your time with it and just sit on it and mull it over and think, because once you drop something once, you don't get a chance to drop it again.
Wow.
And as well as the piece being an art piece itself, there's also a fine art in the way you deliver something. So the one thing that I'm grateful for is the fact that I was able to promote this painting months ago without realizing that I was going to use it to actually make something that I really like as well. So, you know, I think also the process of actually creating, because I'm one of those people, I like to do everything myself. And I have about 8 different mediums. I do poetry, collaging, videography, making clothes, etc., etc., etc. But I do it all myself, and it takes me a while. But one thing I did realize as well is when you're doing stuff, you need a team. And I feel like if you're an independent artist, it's okay to accept help. It doesn't mean you've done any less of a job. It just means that you had the balls to be like, hey man, I need the help because I can't do this on my own. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like the process of that, you know, you teach yourself something new. You teach the people you're working with something new because they've never worked with whatever it is that you're offering them before. You know, so it's a good lesson all round. And I think, you know, it's a beautiful process. You just got to handle it tastefully, carefully, because like I said, once you drop it once, you don't get to drop it again. So yeah, it was cool.
Very true. Awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I think there's a really interesting kind of crossover between art and streetwear at the moment as well. You see like Virgil Abloh, like he's collaborating with Futura, and then Kim Jones just did the Sean Stussy one. So it's quite an interesting time, I think, for art to be sort of in fashion. I think people like the idea of having art as something you either like collect and the covetability of it. So people are really kind of looking for that. That's what I'm seeing anyway.
Yeah, and that's why I asked that question, because when we were in Amsterdam at Kingpins, I don't know if you saw the Spanish designer that was doing the denim. Yeah, so it's crazy. When I went in there and then I saw her painting, I was like, the painting was called Nigeria. So I was like, wait, what? And then she had another one that was called Hausa, which is actually like based on, you know, my tribe. And I was like, that is insane. Like, it just, the way I felt when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh. So I bought the painting and I like put it on shirts and all of that. Like, it's just crazy to see that crossover and like just how it can make you feel. It's like you want to have it on you, and it's like you just want to keep it so close to you.
Yeah, I think people, they love seeing kind of the process of things as well, and it adds a bit more of like a personal attachment to clothing. So you'll actually like hold on to that piece longer because it has kind of a personal attachment to it. You've seen the artist do it, and so it's a bit more kind of covetable, I think.
Awesome.
I think also one thing as well is like with art, it's, I can't lie, we're in a very like, okay, there's a couple points. So like, I feel like when it comes to actual paintings, sometimes the actual painting itself could be X amount of money and there's only one.
Right.
But when everybody wants to have something, that's when you make prints.
Yes.
But then in this day and age, especially in Instagram, we're in a very show-offy climate. You know what I mean? So everybody wants to be showing off what they like because they want to express themselves.
Exactly.
So I feel like the idea of putting an expressive form onto another expressive form, which is where art meets clothes, is also a good way. And I think like that's why it's also, it's not a good way. It's also, it's a good thing because this is how a lot of people can show what they're really into beyond just clothes, but it's still clothes. Do you know what I mean? And I think with clothing being the one thing that's, clothing is the one thing that's creating a community right now. For people who aren't even into fashion, for some reason, everyone's becoming fashionable. So I feel like with fashion, you know, people are saying everything they want to say. And it comes down to the little thing like a t-shirt. If you're into maths, you make a cool t-shirt about 2 times 2 equals, I don't freaking care because I don't care about algebra, but I do. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. And it's kind of like, oh, I can tell you're not really into maths, but you are, but that's kind of cool. You know what I mean? So yeah, I feel like fashion is the gateway to a lot of other expressive forms, and I feel like everyone's now just start to really clock onto that, and I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you can definitely reach a broader kind of audience as well. I'm sure for like Shaq, coming from like a fashion background, like be able to do that through clothing, you can have a closer association for people. I think like Keith Haring was like the first guy to really do art in fashion, and like a lot of people wanting him not to do it because it would devalue the clothes, but he saw it as an opportunity to reach a broader kind of audience.
And so look at it today.
Exactly.
Everybody wants to do it. Okay, so this is going to be like a general question for all of you guys to answer. I noticed, especially like when I was starting out, one of the key things that I struggled with was self-comparison. And I feel like that's a thing for creatives or just, you know, booming industries in general. So how do you guys pace yourselves and like remind yourselves like who the hell you are? You know, it's like you need to be your biggest critic, but you also need to be your biggest supporter. So can you guys just walk through any experiences you've had based on that, if any?
I think for me, it's all about seeing like the finish line, like the destination you're going towards.
Yeah.
Like having that in mind all the time. Like, you know, I mean, every single person is going to have setbacks, no matter what. Like, no matter who you are. If you read any biography, like, there's always a period of time where there's like trouble.
Yeah.
So if you're like trying to look like sideways all the time, you can't look forward to your destination. You're going to feel a type of way when things aren't going your way. So I think, you know, always looking forward is the best way at all times.
Right.
In the music industry, I'd say looking around it's good to look at what other people are releasing, and just what people are bringing out, what sort of vibe everyone's on, because this day and age, like, the amount of music coming out is changing fast.
Right.
So you have to kind of keep up, but at the same time, focus on your craft and kind of execute it to the best of your abilities. So even if someone's done something that you had an idea to do, with planning and execution, it can come out different. And the way we uplift ourselves is we decide to celebrate achievements now. Because with music, we always want, we ended number 7 in the charts. Next week, let's go for number 6, number 5, and try to get number 1. But sometimes you have to actually celebrate each achievement to kind of remember yourself, like, I've done this, and this thing was starting, and we're starting to tell ourselves, I'm proud of you. Like, be proud of what you've done. Right. Because at the end of the day, it's taking something. Because before you start something, you're wary of what people are going to think. Until you take that jump and fly, then that's when you know, it was worth it. So just being able to tell yourself you're proud of yourself, and that's
awesome.
it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I guess for me, working in fashion, I'm always sort of looking at different brands and what they're doing, so I kind of have a more kind of like, I'd step back and sort of see what's going on. But like for me personally, like my Instagram, I always try and just explore kind of unspoken areas that people aren't necessarily looking to. Like a lot of the stuff of what I do, it relates to the culture of what I sort of speak to, but also uncovering some of the more unknown kind of like stories and speaking on things like that. I feel now there's a lot of kind of like peer collaboration. The younger generation seems to be embracing that more. So it's not always about sort of comparing yourself with other people. It's about working with like communities and things. So I think that's a really good kind of move in the industry at the moment.
Awesome.
So when it comes to like looking at what other people do and stuff like that, I think the first thing you gotta ask yourself is, okay, what am I looking at them for? Am I looking at them to compare myself? And if I am gonna look at them to compare myself, am I gonna be upset? And even to add on to what you were saying, bro, if someone does an idea, well, I'm gonna bring spirituality and God into this, even if you don't believe in God, I'm bringing him here.
Very cute.
I personally feel like, you know, if someone does an idea that you've had and they get it out before you and you're there and you're like, oh, bruv, I was going to do that. That was going to be me. I wanted to I believe the way God works is kind of like, nah, bruv, this was his blessing. But I just wanted to show you that you can have an idea that's worth this level of success. Wow. But I'm going to give you another one. Awesome. So I personally like to think to myself, like, you know, if something doesn't go wrong, it's probably because it went right. You just haven't seen it yet. Do you know what I mean? And it's all about how you believe it and how you channel your energies back into yourself. Because if you just look at that situation and see it as defeat, notice that's where you'll stop. But if you're like, okay, cool, next idea. If you weren't able to make another idea as well as the first one you thought of, you would have instantly thought to yourself, I'm going to stop right here. But you kept going. So, and I think in the day and age of social media, it's very easy to showcase, you know, all the achievements that you have and stuff like that. But I'd also like to point out that with social media accounts, the people controlling them is the people who are actually on them. So you're not going to see people's mess ups and F ups and all of this stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? So just because someone's life looks great all the time, that's because that's what they want to show you. And I know that's cliche, but it's always needed, you know, to be said, because people need to be reminded. I feel like people always feel like, yeah, but look, Kalani just did this. Yeah, YG just did this. No, but Skepta's on tour with my man and did it. And it's kind of like, yeah, but bruv, it's because he's letting you see that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You know what I'm saying? People are building and building and building, and you know, like what Frank Ocean did, I think with Def Jam, was it? What he did behind closed doors, like, you know, released that album, everyone was like, this is dead. But then you drop Blonde, and then it's amazing. Do you know what I'm saying? You don't know what everyone's cooking up behind closed doors. So with that being said, Frank Ocean was focusing on himself. and he made something that you loved forever. I think even last summer it came back into the top 200 album charts. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, focus on yourself and, you know, make your own blondes, make your own, like, whatever creations you want to do, but don't look at your neighbors and, you know, and envy them. Because God doesn't like ugly anyways. So, you know, be pretty and focus on yourself, you know?
Awesome. Okay, so this is going to be my last question, and it's a general question as well. So in all of your respective industries, what would you want to be remembered for?
I'm working on like a fashion tech company. So I think like my own like P is like I'm trying to work with as many like Nigerian tech geniuses and like, okay, let's create something from Nigeria that can be used all around the world.
Oh, wow.
I think like that's my main legacy. So hopefully everything works out fine.
Awesome. It's Scissor app, right?
Yeah.
It's lit.
To be the biggest boy band in the world, obviously, when you think about all the past, like you think about the Beatles, like all these successful groups, they're all from like the Western world. So to get a group from Africa to take over the world, that's goals, and it's gonna happen.
Yes, energy.
I guess for me, it would be knowledge sharing. That's one of the big things for me.
Wow.
I've had some people come on my account and saying like, why are you saying this? Why are you giving away this information? And it's just like, nobody likes gatekeepers, and this knowledge is free. Like I've learned it from someone else. So I want to be giving my kind of knowledge back to people as well.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Love that.
I guess I like to be remembered for, you know what, I just want to be, whatever Shaquille-Aaron is just what I want to be remembered for. I can't pinpoint it. Like the idea of like, you know, black boy from Lewisham who goes out, writes poetry in a notebook, shares it on Instagram, does a fashion show, does this, does that. It's very different. It's very weird, but all those accolades are cool, but that's not what I want to be remembered for. I just want to be remembered as the guy who could do all those things. Because then that opens the door for the younger people after me, and they're just like, you know what, if he can do that, I can do that. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's good enough for me, man.
Awesome. So this is the end of our panel. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Panelists, thank you.